What is up, humans of the cardboard? Today we are looking at FLOOWANDEREEZE. It's the latest deck profile that I'm going to be showing you guys today. I don't know. I mean, it's a really cool deck, honestly. And here's the thing. I don't think there's a ton of variance you can really do with a deck like this. It kind of, as far as the package, its standard package goes, is pretty like cookie cutter. There's a couple things you can mix around, whether or not you're playing Designator or something else. So I do think there's just like limited variation to the deck, but I'm still really interested in the deck, and you know, I'm going to build. If I'm interested in it, I'm going to show you a build, even if it's not the craziest teched out thing in the world, but I will give you my thoughts on the deck as we go. So let's just jump into it. Starting off with the standard FLOOWANDEREEZE lineup that you have to be playing. Triple copies of FLOOWANDEREEZE and Robina, triple copies of FLOOWANDEREEZE and Eaglin, one FLOOWANDEREEZE and Stree, and one FLOOWANDEREEZE and Token. You might as well throw Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds on there as one of the low-level ones. So, you know, just a real quick recap for the Flunder monsters. They have the same two effects where every time they leave the field, they're banished, for the small ones at least. And while they're banished, if any winged beast monster is normal summoned, they add themselves back to hand. That is so insanely good that they all like add themselves back to hand. They rotate themselves to be able to grind like crazy. It's a really nice part of the deck. The only other thing you need to know is they all have an effect on normal summon, which will do something really nice and then give you an additional normal summon immediately after. So Robina is the one card combo. It searches you a level 4 or lower wing beast and then gives you an additional normal. Eaglin searches a level 7 or higher wing beast and then gives you an additional normal summon. Stree can banish any card from the grave. That actually comes up, really cool utility, banishing your own stuff, as well as every turn banishing something from your opponent's grave. And Token getting you an add back from the banished zone of a Flunder card. And obviously we know what Barrier Statue does. A lot of good stuff here, really good. Robina's your main starter. That's the only problem I would say with the deck, is that like sometimes the deck is Robina or no Robina. If you can't find Robina, you can really struggle in duels, but outside of that, you know, no problem. Getting into the the boss monsters here. I'm on two M-Pin. I actually technically have Snarl, but we pulled this and then I bought the other M-Pin, but I didn't realize I needed 2 at the time, so I need to pick up a second one, but I would be playing 2, I think, right now. I think. I kind of go back and forth on ratios. You either play 3 or 4 of the boss monsters. 1 Ryza, the Mega Monarch, and then 1 Mist Valley Apex Avian. I really like Avian. I really think its specific interruption like comes up versus like a lot of different stuff. And so it does come in clutch because this deck doesn't have a ton of negation per se. It has a lot of like removal type stuff. So it is nice to have that added to like the utility of your interruptions. Rise is like insane. You have to play this card at least 1. If you don't have this card, I'm sorry. Like this is a card you have to be playing at least 1. This card is like your win condition in like most duels. This card's crazy. It's gonna like spin like 3 cards. Crazy. And then M-Pen, we know M-Pen searches a Flunder spell or trap on summon, gets you an additional normal summon. Is a floodgate, so that he negates the effects of all face-up attack position monsters your opponent controls, which makes it very awkward for your opponent to out this card. And then also he has like a battle trick where he can like pitch a card to cut the opponent's monster's attack in half, which is actually really nasty as well. So really cool. Again, the lineup's a little bit you know, discussable here because they are rotatable, so you can like kind of reload them and use them again, especially like Avian loading himself back to hand. Ryza can actually add him, like bounce himself back to your hand if you want, and then N-Pen being you know, cyclable through Token and Stree as well. So I don't think you have to play 4. You can get away with 3, but right now I'm playing the 4 because I do like having the ability to get like that second M-Pen for another normal summon to keep those resources rotating. But yeah, really good there. That finishes us off for like our main monsters, taking us to the only other monster we play, Triple D Shifter. This card is just a blowout versus a lot of different matchups. Definitely like a matchup dependent card though, because in the mirror, awful. And versus Sword Soul, pretty awful. So as long as you're dodging those 2 matchups, this card's insane. I still think it's just too high ceiling not to. Like if you play PK, if you play Drytron, right, any of that stuff, like this card's like such a pain in the dick for them. It's kind of crazy. So I still like playing it in the main just because I didn't want to play like 10 plus hand traps. You don't really have quite as much space as you'd like to really fit in all that. And so I'd rather play like smaller numbers, but of hand traps that are like turn passers sometimes. So higher ceiling, but a little bit lower consistency there. Moving on here, we have our field spell. Moving to the spells, Floowandereeze and the Magnificent Map. I also play the Terraforming with it because we want to see this card at all costs. This card's crazy. This card allows you to like chain block your turn 1 play, which is really good, and your turn 2 play, but, or actually not, well, sort of. You just get set up to chain block on your turn on your opponent's turn. But anyway, this card says that if you can reveal any level 1 Floowandereeze in hand, you can then banish a Floowandereeze card with a different name straight from the deck, then get an immediate additional normal summon. So what this does is because they all add themselves back on normal summon, you'll banish one, normal summon the one you revealed, and then the one that's banished will trigger to add itself back. So you can chain block the one you're normal summoning, which means you can chain block Robina, chain block Eaglin, from Ash Blossom and stuff, and keep your plays going, which is really cool. And you didn't even use your regular normal summon. So if you went like normal, if you had like Robina plus this, it's like so broken, because even if they have Veil or Imperm, they'll Veil or Imperm the Robina, but because you banished the Eaglin originally, it'll still add itself back. And because you just used an additional normal summon, not your real normal summon, you then normal summon Eaglin, get a search, and you still do the standard combo through the Veiler or Imperm, which is really crazy. Also, it says if your opponent normal summons a monster, you can then immediately, after this card resolves, normal summon your own winged beast. So it allows you to get normal summoning onto your opponent's turn, and that gets really scary, really dicey for your opponent, I promise you. Also playing 1 copy of Unexplored Winds. I think 1 is fine here. I like this card a lot. This card says if you would do a tribute summon for a 2 tribute monster, you can tribute 1 winged beast you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Keep in mind that says card, which means you can potentially send back row to then get your tribute going. And that's like crazy. It's continuous too, so it just stays up. It's not like a one-time thing. It's like every turn, your opponent's turn. If you ever go to tribute summon, you're just removing a shit ton of cards for free. Also, it has a cool second effect where you can shuffle back any winged beast in your hand to draw the same number of cards, kind of like a Cosmo Town effect. That can come up for sure. I mean, especially if you're on 4 of the high level ones like me, you definitely can brick on certain cards like that. Also, if you play stuff like DD Crow in the main, which is actually kind of interesting, we can talk about it later, but DD Crow is kind of funny because Robina can search DD Crow, and as long as you opened like, if you open like Robina plus Eaglin, you could go like Robina search DD Crow, normal summon Eaglin, and then you're still doing the same combo just because you already had both, but you also just get to add DD Crow to the hand. That was something interesting. I thought that was potentially worth knowing. It'd be a cool one-of. It's also searchable off of the Charade as well, which we'll get to later, and it can be put back with that. So I would almost consider playing 1 DD Crow in here as well. We'll get, but that's just like a cool tech. Moving on with the spells for the pots. Sorry guys, triple prosperity, triple duality. Duality's obviously there. We don't special summon at all, but prosperity I think is the right choice here. This is one of those decks where yes, it's like more of a control deck, and control decks sometimes do want to just like see that +1, draw 2 off extravagance, but this card is one of those decks where like you really need to see specific cards. You really need to find Robina, and so having these two gives you the maximum potential to like really dig for Robina specifically, or at least find like a combination of 2 or 3 cards that lets you get your combos going. And I think that's just too important. And also, like, if you're going to play a card that, like, gives you the random draw, I don't love that because, like, how often? Like, I feel like in this kind of deck, you're going to more often than other decks be like, draw D Shifter, which after Prosperity resolves, it'll be engraved. So Shifter's now dead. Also, your high-level Winged Beast, dead, boom, 7 cards, and your other 2 copies of Prosperity, which, like, or extravagance, which are dead until the next turn. So like you literally would have 10 cards in your deck that you just like do not want to draw at all. And even like you could throw Barrier Stature in as well. There's just like too many cards you don't want to like draw. And so this card being like a targeted ad is like so much better to me. I think it's the right choice. I think you can still get away with extravagance. I just think you're going to like drop your consistency a little bit there. And maybe it's worth to like cut down on certain things, like maybe don't play the shifter, maybe play other stuff that you're more okay with drawing off of that. Maybe cut down from 3 big summons to 2, or from 4 to 3, just to slightly, you know, make it so you're not drawing those as much. Just that kind of stuff there. Just have to slightly adjust everything. But I think those are the best consistency cards you can play. Speaking of which, Gold Sark is also insane for the same reason the field spell is insane. If you just get one of the small ones already banished, you just have to open this with any normal summonable winged beast, and that monster's coming back. And you're going to rotate. So this is essentially a card that if you don't have Robina, you just banish Robina. If you have any normal summon, you're kind of getting it, things going. Really good. Triple Book of Moon. This has become a staple in this deck. One of the really annoying cards in the deck versus the deck is like impermanent / Veiler type effects. Because their add and normal summon is all one effect. So if any of it gets negated, the whole thing is negated, and they don't have to be face up to resolve. So if I go normal summon Robina, activate effect, and my opponent goes Veiler, Imperm, or the Sword Soul Synchro, like any kind of effect like that targets to negate, I can then chain my book to then flip Robina face down, and it'll still resolve. And it's still on field also, so I still have that tribute fodder. Once I go this, add Eaglin, normals of Eaglin get a Ryza, tribute them both. They don't have to be face up to tribute them, which is really, really cool. So not only that, but like going first, if you don't need it, you can just set it. It's another decent interruption. Going second into boards, sometimes it's even better just to book your opponent's monster instead of worrying about booking your own. Just to either like beta negate or just to blank an opponent's monster that you were worried about. It's really good. It's a really important utility card in the deck. One called, again, Veiler's annoying. Ash can be annoying on Robina or Eaglin if you're starting with them and you don't have a way to chain block them. So called is just nice utility there. Dimension Fisher. This card's really crazy. It also like kills certain hand traps. So it's kind of like a defensive card going first, but also just like an insane floodgate. Like if we're playing Shifter and decks lose to Shifter, then like you can also play Fisher. So obviously matchup dependent, these cards. One thing I didn't notice, didn't mention earlier, is that if you don't activate, after you Shifter your opponent, if you don't activate any like spells that like go to grave, then that means you can use your Stree at some point to then banish the one Shifter in grave, so that there's no other Shifters in grave. So if you open double Shifter, you can actually make them both live like fairly easily. You just don't have to open like, you just need to open like Not a Pot or Terraforming, like that, or just like Gold Sark. But like, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like you have to play it right and sequence things and like try not to, and it's not the biggest deal if you have to activate certain stuff. But it's one of those things where like if you can reset and use it again, like how does Phantom Knights like beat that? Like, I don't know. I do not know. All right, then for the trap lineup, a little heavier trap lineup than most that I find. One copy of Dreaming Town. This card's awesome. It gives you an additional normal summon for level 4 lower wing beast. That gets you like your full combo on your opponent's turn. Summon Ryza, summon Apex, summon Empen on your opponent's turn. It's really good. Then also another cool thing is that if you tribute summon for a level 7 or higher monster while this card's in grave, you can banish it to then Book of Moon your opponent's entire field. That also comes up really, really nicely. This card is really good. Triple, finishing up with the traps, triple Imperm and triple Punishment. I looked forever and I could not find my third Punishment, and I'm really upset about it. It's really stupid. Should have just thrown like the DD Crow in there as like a cool tech card. I think that's actually really interesting to like worth noting. But yeah, like the triple Imperm, triple Shifter for my hand trap lineup. This could also be Ash, but I kind of like Imperm. It's a little better playing into boards to be able to like blank a made boss monster. There, if you draw it off the top, and then Punishment is really cool because like this deck, it's really nice to have like that removal. And also just like the amount of utility you can get because the deck doesn't use the extra deck is actually pretty nice. So we'll get into that in just a sec. But that is it. 40 cards in the main. Like nothing too crazy, I would say. Like if I did find room for the DD Crow, maybe that would be something spicy. Like maybe I would consider just keeping the one Empen and actually only playing 3 of these and playing this as DD Crow. I'm kind of thinking that might be the move. You know what? Consider that the move. I'm just going to put it in there right now. Kind of making that choice on the fly because you do have multiple ways to make use of that card. So very cool. 40 cards in the main. Deck's powerful. Deck's crazy. Into the extra, this is going to be super simple. Shrek is really cool because of punishment. If you can send him, he can add any tri-beast with a level equal to or lower than the number of banished tri-beast types. So if you just have any wing beast banished and this card gets sent off of like punishment, it can add any level 1, which by the way, all the low level ones are level 1. So that's really, really solid. That does come up all the time. Another consistency one we have is the Farragut. She comes up a little bit less often, but if you don't have the setup with something already banished, sometimes it's just better to go Farragut, put a card from your hand back and draw one, try to fix the hand a little bit. Definitely can come up. Double Untis, this is just popping cards. One Skull Knight, also popping cards, but sometimes you just want that setup. Like, you're like, I know I want to pop something next turn, I just don't need to pop it now, so I'd rather just send this instead of the Untis. Cyberdark End Dragon, this is just a 5,000 target in case you're fighting something that's like really huge. You can still clear it. One Ad Ignister, Wind Pegasus. This card's really cool, actually. Sometimes you could just be in a simplified state where I'm like, I could just send this and now my opponent doesn't want to destroy anything I have ever, or they get punished by it. That can actually be pretty nice. Relinquished Anima, you have a bunch of level 1s. Sometimes you could be in a very specific situation where this card comes up just because you go, maybe you have an awkward hand with like just Stree or Eaglin in it, or Stree or, what's his name? Stree or Token in it. So you just go normal summon them, don't use their effect because that's what locks you out. And then you link them off for Anima, and then you use Anima's effect to steal something, beat over something, and cool. Like it can come up, I guess. Phoenix, Unicorn, you'll probably never make these, but it's possible, I guess. Simorg, this is technically a Wing Beast deck, so it's pretty easy to make this, and this can just like cheat out your like Apex Avian or your Barrier Statue. So this is actually potentially doable, kind of awkward, but like it can work, I guess. And then these, this should be the other Leoless monster. I couldn't find mine. The one that's used for like that kind of like Zeus stuff, attack your opponent directly and then make the Zeus. Just basic, like if you're in a weird situation where you do have 2 level 1s on the board, being able to make this can potentially save a game, but your Floowandereeze effects lock you out of special summoning, like period. So it usually never comes up because it has to be that just ideally would never come up. Like, I'm not able to do anything, but I'm still able to put 2 monsters on the field that are level 1. I don't know. You got to play something in the extra, so I'm playing whatever I think like can, I guess, come up potentially. Whatever. It's weird, but it works. So that is it for the Floowandereeze deck profile. I think this deck's really sweet. I love the way it plays. And also we have like the spell coming in the next set as well, which appears to be like a really good consistency card for the deck as well. So I am definitely about it. But that's going to do it from here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. Like, what are you doing in your build? What would you adjust in this build? You know, I'm just one guy. It's a really cool deck. I'm not sure how much I'm going to play this deck. I like it, but it's not like my personal like favorite deck of all time, but I do like it, and I definitely keep an eye on it. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you want to see more deck profiles from your boy down the line, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.